Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we are back with another episode of Cheap Shots. This series is dedicated to showing you how to save money on the miniatures wargaming hobby. And on today's episode, what we're going to be talking about today is the brand new box set that's coming out for Kill Team. This box set, of course, being called Ashes of Faith. Now, this is an image I got off the internet real quick to kind of show you exactly what will consist of the box set when it is released for the gaming community out there. So I've did a previous video already. We talked about the Inquisitorial Agents. I talked about exactly how you can make this box set, that portion of the box set, directly into a gang on Necromunda that you could actually use in your game in Necromunda as well. We have also talked about these guys now, which are the Chaos Cultists that actually come with the box set. So if you notice in this box set, there's actually quite a bit more Chaos Cultists. You actually have an entire box set of Devotees, is what they call these guys down below, which is the typical 40k box set that came out for Chaos Cultists, armed with Autopistols as well as close combat weapons. We also have the Dark Commune box set that also comes with this as well, with different members of that, as well as the Torments, which are the Chaos Spawn, as well as mutants, who are basically these fighters who have been mutated to these mutants who eventually will become Torments. And so what we're going to do in this video is we're going to talk about exactly using the content of this box set for your games of Necromunda, because after all, using the same set of miniatures for multiple gaming systems is the ultimate dream. Not only could you use this set for Warhammer 40k Kill Team, you could also use it for Warhammer 40,000. You could also use it for Necromunda, which this video is going to talk about today, as well as other various game systems, especially miniatures agnostic games that you can use with a futuristic setting. So in this video, we're going to talk about a gang list, exactly about how you could use these guys in your games in Necromunda. We'll also do a gang overview where I actually show you how to actually use this gang on the tabletop, and of course give you our final thoughts about the Ashes of Faith Chaos Cultist box set. So that being said, let's get this video review on a roll. Alright, so let's talk about using the using the Ashes of Faith Chaos Cultists in your games of Necromunda. So let's go and talk about this real quick. So how you guys going to run these guys is, as weird as it may sound, you might think that you might want to play these guys as a Chaos Chaos Cult in your games of Necromunda. You could definitely do so, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's exactly what they kind of be used for. However, if you really want to get the most out of this box set and you want to really dominate the tabletop, I suggest you actually play a Chaos Corrupted gang instead. And I'm going to talk about the rationale behind this. So what I would suggest you do with this box set especially, use it to create a Chaos Corrupted House Cawdor Outcast gang for the Aranthian Succession. Now I'm assuming that you're going to want to use this for Aranthian Succession because you're allowed to have 2,000 credits worth of miniatures, and this miniatures box set does provide you with quite a bit on here, so that's the reason why it's at a 2,000 credit list. And you're going to dedicate this gang to the Dark Prince, and the reason why is because, one, for the color scheme these guys are wearing, a lot of crimsons, purples, and pinks, and magentas, which are very synonymous with Slanesh, plus because the gang is going to be quite large, having that larger group activations from the Dark Prince is going to be really helpful for your gang as well. Now, as we go through this list, you're primarily going to be using the Devotees, which are these 10 miniatures down here below, as well as the Dark Commune over here. This is what you're probably going to primarily use for your miniatures. Now, as the campaign develops as a Chaos Corrupted gang, you actually get access to mutations in your campaign, which means if you suffer any lasting injuries, you can get mutations instead. And if that happens, you can actually use these beautiful mutant models up here to represent the fighters down here who were actually mutated. In fact, a lot of these miniatures in the mutant line have exactly the same corresponding miniatures over here with these guys. For example, this guy here with the arm tentacles, that's actually based off this miniature over here, or this miniature over here. This lady over here with a little horn coming out of her head right there, that could be used using this miniature right over here and right over here as well to represent that miniature. So you do have some options there. And of course, as a Chaos Corrupted gang, you will sometimes come across Chaos Spawn in your gang, and you can use the Torments in order to fulfill that role in your gang as well. So you have everything you need to be successful with this. So like I said before, you're primarily going to be using the Dark Commune as well as the Devotees portion of this in your everyday battles in Necromunda. So let's talk about exactly what will be in that gang list. So first of all, the Demagogue, which is this character over here, right here in the middle over there, that's going to be your Outcast leader. For it costs you 225 credits, and this fighter's going to cost you 345 credits overall. Now, as a Chaos Corrupted Outcast gang, what you can do is you have different stats you can choose for your Outcast leader. I suggest you go with the squat stats, which gives you movement 4. And the reason why you might be thinking, well, Commander Cheapskate, it's going to make you slower to use those stats, and that is true, but the real reason why is because you're going to make this fighter a weird archetype, which means they have access to psychic powers, and what you really want want is the stats, characteristics for willpower, intelligence, and cool, because they have really good values for those, because you want to get off those psychic abilities. And we'll talk about exactly how you're going to address the slow movement for this guy here in a second. Now, you're going to give this person armored undersuit as well as mesh armor for 25 and 15 credits accordingly, so that way they have a 4-up armor save, as well as a Gutterforged cloak on top of that, and that's going to give them a 3-up armor save with a 5-up ward save against environmental factors. So if you end up going into the ash waste or into the bad zones, they're going to be able to protect themselves. I mainly bought that 15 credits for the Gutterforged cloak to get an additional armor save, and that's the reason why we would go with a House Cawdor Outcast gang, because when you become an Outcast gang, you have access to the entire list of inventory of items that that house has, and for Cawdor, you have a combination of both law-abiding Cawdor as well as redemptionist equipment and weapons you can choose from, and you can really outfit this gang and make it very, very powerful and very resilient. And that's the reason why I would go with the Outcast lineup for these guys. Now then, you're going to give this guy what's known as a Cawdor Charger Flamer, which is this weapon going to be represented by their pole. It's a new weapon that's been released for the Vaults of Temenos release that came out for the expansion of Necromunda. It's basically a Cawdor pole arm that's combined with a flamer, so that way you can open fire with flamers and still have a backup close combat weapon that you can use to tear face with. Also give this fighter an Autopistol with Manstopper rounds for 20 credits, so that way they have a backup weapon to use in case of close combat, or if they want to shoot regular guns to flamers, or in case the flamer fails ammo roll, you have that backup weapon help you out. Now, the type of stats you want to go for this, because of the Wyrd archetype, you want to go with the Telepathy discipline, and the reason why is because when it comes to Outcast gangs, they're very cheap in terms of point values for your gang. So because you'll be able to recruit a lot of them and equip them with really good weapons. The downside of that is that Outcast gangs, especially Outcast Hive Scum, have notoriously horrible psychology stats, especially when it comes to cool and willpower. And that's the reason why you want to use the Telepathy discipline, because you can give this ability called Unbreakable Will. When you trigger this ability, what's going to happen is that everybody within 9 inches of you can swap out the cool characteristics and willpower characteristics of this fighter with everybody who's around you. And with willpower 4 and cool value of 5, that's going to really help your gang members from breaking all the time as well. And that really can help you spread out, and that can actually help out a lot of fighters to keep them in the fight. And that's exactly what you want to go with. This kind of also fits narratively because you're going with the Dark Prince, and traditionally units that are dedicated to Slanesh and 40k, as well as some fantasy, are immune to psychology, so that kind of balances that idea, because you're basically wanton killers who are just out there just killing for the love of it, according to the lore. And that's going to help you out. And because you are dedicated to the Dark Prince, you also get +2 to your movement value for your Outcast leader. And so this guy's got squad stats, movement 4, that's going to put him in movement 6, which is actually going to make him faster than everybody else by an inch, but it's going to allow this fighter to move around and keep the pace with the rest of the gang. And that's the reason why you want to outfit this Outcast leader that way. Now, the next member of the Dark Comedy you're going to use is called the Iconarch, which is this guy here with this huge standard bearer. The Iconarch's going to be your Outcast champion number 1. He's going to cost you 280 credits. Once again, a Wyrd archetype, taking advantage of those psychic abilities, which you want to do. Now, you're going to give him armored undersuit, mesh armor, and as well as a Gutterforged cloak for 25 and 15 credits accordingly, to give him that 3-up armor save, 5-up ward save against environmental effects. And once again, this guy's going to be armed with a Cawdor Charger and Charger with a flamer. That way, he's got a pole weapon he can use in close combat. At the same time, also has a flamer that he also use too, which is really powerful. Autopistol with Manstopper rounds for backup weapon as well as close combat. And once again, you give this guy the Telepathy discipline as well. Now, what you want to do is you want to make sure that both of your champions, because both of them will be Wyrd archetypes, you want to make sure they're at least with 9 inches of the Demagogue at all times. That way, the Demagogue's 4-up cool stat, willpower stat, will then also count for the 2 Outcast champions too. Will be able to use that 4-up willpower as well to get their own abilities off as well. And once again, you're giving them Fearful Aura for the Telepathy discipline and Unbreakable Will. That way they can transfer that same cool as well as willpower characteristic that they have here from the Demagogue. Is going to transfer to these Outcast champions. These Outcast champions are going to then take that same stat from the Demagogue and spread it to their fighters, for their normal Outcast fighters, and that's how you keep these guys in the fight and make sure they don't break and also cause all kinds of destruction as well. And just in case you're not sure what Fearful Aura is basically your opponent has to pass a willpower test to be able to charge you in close combat, kind of like how Corpse Grinders have it, so also makes these guys a little bit more survivable as well. And it's going to sound like a broken record, but you're going to do exactly the same kit for this Iconarch, which is this guy here, for your Mind Witch. Your Mind Witch is this guy over here in the middle with the little floating head built on a cybernetic frame. Kind of disturbing miniature, but he's going to be exactly the same 280 credits, exactly the same concept with this guy. Armored Undersuit, Mesh Armor, Gutterforged Cloaks, 3-up armor save with a 5-up board save. Cawdor Charger with a flamer, so that way they can use that on a mounted condition or on foot and still have flamer attacks. Autopistol, Manstopper rounds for a back weapon. And once again, Telepathy, Discipline with Fearful Aura, and Unbreakable Will. You're going to create this kind of hive mind kind of situation where the Demagogue is basically using buffs of willpower and cool for the champions, who then spread it to their fighters as well. And that's going to be a really good, huge game changer for you in keeping your fighters in the fight. Even though they're outcasts, they won't break because they're fanatic because of these abilities that they got. Alright, so now that we're done talking about the Demagogue, as well as the Iconarch, as well as the Mind Witch, let's go and talk about the 2 Blessed Blades that you also get as well. So, your Blessed Blades will actually just be normal Outcast Hive Scum. So Blessed Blade number 1 and 2 will both be Outcast Hive Scum. They're both equipped exactly the same way at 155 credits apiece. Both of them will have armored undersuits with mesh armor and Gutterforged cloaks, so that way they have that 3-up armor save with a 5-up board save against environmental effects. And they can be equipped with master-crafted greatswords, which is represented by the giant swords that both these guys are also carrying as well. Now, Cawdor greatswords are excellent weapons because they have a 2-inch versatile trait, so they can attack multiple targets at the same time. At the same time of that happening, they also have the severed trait for their greatswords, which means so long as you put a wound on them, you don't need to worry about rolling injury dice. Your opponent automatically goes out of action, which is a great way of just melting face with your opponent on that one. So you're gonna have both these guys who are armed with those weapons. They're also gonna both have Manstopper rounds with their Autopistols as well for backup weapons, so that way they can also do some shooting if they have to. What you're gonna do is you're gonna keep your 2 Blessed Blades at all times, protecting the Demagogue to make sure that person doesn't get attacked. They'll also benefit from the Unbreakable Will effects from the psychic abilities for them as well, so it's really going to help you out too. So it's kind of neat because these guys are kind of being used as they're originally intended to from Warhammer 40k as well as Kill Team. Now let's talk about the rest of your gang, which are your devotees. So your devotees are going to be equipped exactly the same. You can use any miniatures you want to from this list. You're going to all cost exactly the same for all of them. These guys have got 5 fighters in all. So let's talk about that real quick. So you have 5 fighters you'll definitely be using. You have 5 fighters in reserve that you can bring in later on as your gang expands. And they're all equipped exactly the same. They're going to be costing 145 credits apiece. They're going to be equipped with armored undersuits and hazard suits. So that way they have a 5-up armor save because the 2 stack. And at the same time, they'll also be immune to the blaze condition. At the same time, you also have increased toughness and resiliency to gas attacks. Now you might be thinking, why are we doing this? And the reason why is because of the flamer templates that you have for all of your champions. And at the same time, all of your cultists are also packing incendiary charges, so that way they can throw fire bombs all over the place, all over the battlefield, and just melt face. You want those hazard suits in case those incendiary charges come bouncing back to you, or in case a flamer accidentally hits one of your own guys. That way they're protected from the blaze tradition and they'll be perfectly fine. Now, as for their weapons, they'll be armed with autopistols with Manstopper rounds to give you a strength 4 shooting attack. You can also use that strength 4 attack in close combat. And you're also taking a cleaver for these guys as well for 20 credits. And that cleaver is a great close combat weapon as well. Makes you have a strength 4 attack in close combat. Also causes an additional point of damage. And it also it takes away a point of armor protection from your enemies too with AP 1. So because of that, very, very tough and powerful combination of close combat attacks, which is great because your devotees are completely armed exactly the same way with auto pistols as well as mean-looking close combat weapons too. And you're going to have 5 of these guys. It's going to make up your gang as well. Alright, and then finally, of course, you're going to have a road dog for 50 credits. And the reason why is because in Aranthian Succession, you need to be able to patch up your own fighters, which is also kind of important that way. Now, when it comes to your gang overview for the assault teams, what you're going to do is you're going to have 3 assault fire teams in this gang. Your assault fire team number 1 consists of your Demagogue, as well as the twin Blessed Blades, blade number 1 and 2, as well as one of these Chaos Cultists. We'll say Chaos Cultist number 1. Your second fire team will consist of your Iconarch, as well as Cultists 2 and 3, so that way they can also be an assault fire team. And assault fire team number 3 is going to consist of your Mind Witch, which is this guy here, as well as your last 2 Chaos Cultists. The 5 that you have in reserve, you can bring in later on as the campaign develops, as well as if you get any mutations, you can switch out fighters to these mutants up here, and if anybody becomes a Chaos Spawn, you could definitely place them with one of your Torments to represent your Chaos Spawn. So, like, a lot of options are in this set, which is really nice as well. If you really want to make this gang really interesting, though, if you want to, if you do have the money, I suggest getting the Black Fortress Cult of the Abyss box set. And the reason why is because you have a guy there who actually has a flamer, you have a Cult Witch character who has got like a chain sword, half the squad is armed with the whole squad is armed with auto guns, you also have a heavy stubber, you also have flamer in that gang, as well as a grenade launcher character. And the nice thing about that box set is that they have the exact same design elements as these guys do in this box set, and they kind of merge together. So if you want to get long-range shooting attacks later on, you want to use the same kind of box set in order to do so, I highly suggest getting that Abyssal box set because it looks really, really awesome, and it just fits in perfectly with the overall aesthetic for this gang. So with that being said, now that we're talking about your gang list, let's talk about your gang overview real quick and how you would use this gang on the tabletop in your games of Necromunda. Alright, so now that we're done talking about what your gang will consist of, let's talk about exactly how you could use this gang on the tabletop with the gang overview. So this is the gang overview for the Ashes of Faith Chaos Cultists, and as you can see, we have this little strip map here, kind of showing you how to use this gang on the tabletop. So these hexagons up here represent your enemy's fire teams. Let's say, for example, your enemy has 2 fire teams, like a support fire team and assault fire team, and down below are your fire teams. So as you can see, you have your assault fire team number 1, which consists of your Demagogue, which is represented by this guy, the letter D here, your 2 Blessed Blades, B1 and B2, and Chaos Cultist number 1, which is C1. They're going to be located in the center. And over to your flanks, you have your 2 assault teams. And it doesn't matter which one goes where, just as long as they're on the flanks like this, with the primary assault team in the center, it's perfectly fine. Assault team number 2 will be on the left-hand side in this example. This will have your Iconarch, represented by the eye over here, as well as your 2 Chaos Cultists over here. And assault fire team number 3 will consist of your Mind Witch over here, with the letter M, as well as Chaos Cultists 4 and 5. Now, as weird as it may seem, you want to make sure that these fire teams, I'm going to represent these over here with these little icons over here, you want to make sure that these fire teams stay within 9 inches of each other at all times. And the reason why is so that way when you trigger the Unbreakable will characteristic for your champions as well as for your Demagogue, everybody benefits from that boost to their willpower stats, especially for your Iconarch as well as for your Mind Witch, so that way they can trigger their own abilities as well. At the same time, everyone has the same cool stats, so that way they stay closer together in combat. Now, when it comes to assaulting your enemy forward, what you want to do is basically maneuver your fire teams basically in unison. So have your assault fire team go forward like this. At the same time, your second and your third fire teams stay relatively close to one another. And the reason why is because you want to make sure that you can get those buffs off anytime you need to with those. I guess I can't click on those. Let me click on that. That way you can trigger those abilities for your Unbreakable Will to make sure that they can all help each other out and also, benefit from those psychology stats as the game goes forward. Now, as you close in the distance towards your enemy, what you're going to do is you're going to do a couple of things. First of all, your Chaos Cultists are going to be the main killers in all of your fire teams. So let's go ahead and move these guys up, for example. So here is your Chaos Cultists. They're moving up forward to engage your enemy. And what they're going to do is they're doing a couple of things when they're engaging your opponent, all right, while they're doing this. Here's your little Chaos Cultist guy here. We'll have your Demagogue stay in the back here with their Blessed Blades to provide protection for your Demagogue. At the same time, you have your Mind Witch here and your Iconarch over here. Now, this is going to happen. What's going to happen is that your Chaos Cultists are going to open fire with their Autopistols as well as with their incendiary charges as they close the distance. What that's going to do is going to cause your enemy to actually get inflamed and being hit with flaming attacks from those incendiary charges. It's going to hit opponents, it's going to set people on fire, it's going to cause them all kinds of problems, and because they're all being set on fire one at a time and having the blaze condition going off, it's also to cause your enemy a lot of harm because those guys will pretty much scatter while this is occurring. Now, at the same time that this is initially happening with this initial volley, some weapons might miss. You might accidentally hit your own fighters with your incendiary devices, but that's perfectly fine because even if that does happen, you still have your hazard suit, which can protect you from the blaze condition as well. Now, as your enemy is engaged and also being set on fire and stuff like that, this is where you bring your champions in to cause problems. Your champions then move in as well to assault forward. They open fire with their template weapons, open firing with their flaming charger, their flamers on their Cawdor chargers, so that way they can set people on fire as well. And then finally, the last thing you do, of course, is then you commit forward with your first assault fire team, basically setting in forward to kind of finish off your opponent. What ends up happening is that your entire gang will then proceed to go online and charge in mass and start engaging your enemies in close combat, setting people on fire with the template weapons for the flaming attacks, shooting people with their auto pistols, chopping them up with cleavers. Your Blessed Blades are chopping guys down with their great swords, shooting opponents at close to medium ranges with their auto pistols. It's going to cause all kinds of chaos to take place on the battlefield. And like I said before, you want to take advantage of the Dark Prince's Blessing interesting because you get group activations, which once per turn, you have 2 fighters activate whenever you want. So if fighters aren't being activated by your champions or by your Demagogue, you could have like 2 random Chaos Cultists be activated on their own. They could charge forward and cause problems accordingly. And of course, as the campaign develops, you can get more fighters. You could also probably get some Chaos spawn happening from doing the Dark Ritual or whatever the case may be. And then for a note, you'll just be steamrolling your opponents and destroying them with sheets of fire, all in the name of the Chaos Gods. So this is how you would actually use your Ashes of Faith Chaos Cultists on the tabletop. So there you guys have it. This is how you could use your Kill Team Ashes of Faith Chaos Cultist box set in your games of Necromunda if you choose to do so as well. The nice thing about this, you're actually only using 2 portions of it, and the rest of it can come in as reserves as the campaign develops, so you'll never run out of options in order to field larger gangs for your games of Necromunda. And like I always keep on saying, using the same set of miniatures for multiple game systems is the ideal situation to be in, so if you find yourself in that situation, take full advantage of it and try out all kinds of different games with the miniatures that you have. So that's good for this, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for this week, guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.